Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Learn English Through Podcast. I'm Emma.
And I'm Jack. And today, we're going to explore a topic that everyone deals with every single day, your daily routine.
That's right, Jack. Talking about your daily routine is one of the most useful skills in English. Whether you're chatting with friends, introducing yourself in class, or even in a job interview, being able to describe what you do every day is essential.
Absolutely. And what's great about this topic is that it's something personal. Everyone's routine is a little different. But there are some common phrases and patterns we can teach today that will make your English sound natural.
Let's start with the morning. A lot of English learners get stuck on how to describe what they do first thing in the day. For example, you could say, I wake up at 7 o'clock.
Or, I usually get out of bed at 6:30. Notice the word usually here. That's important because sometimes routines aren't exact every day.
Exactly. You can also use verbs like brush, take a shower, have breakfast. So you might say, after I wake up, I brush my teeth and take a shower.
And don't forget about time expressions. They really help your listener understand the sequence of your routine. Words like first, then, after that, and finally are very useful. For example, first I wake up, then I make my bed. After that, I eat breakfast. Finally, I leave for work.
Perfect example, Jack. Now let's talk about a common mistake. Some learners say, I am waking up when they talk about routines. But routines usually need the simple present tense. So it's correct to say, I wake up at 7, not I am waking up at 7.
Yes, that's a big tip for all learners. Simple present tense is key for routines.
After the morning, we move to the day. Talking about what you do during the day can include work, school, or even free time activities. For example, I go to work at 9 o'clock, or I study English from 10 to 12.
And if you want to be more detailed, you can include short phrases about your activities. I check my emails, attend meetings, and eat lunch around 1.
Great point, Jack. You can also talk about hobbies. For example, in the afternoon, I like to go for a walk or read a book. That makes your routine sound more natural and interesting.
Now, one tip I always give learners is to use adverbs of frequency. Words like always, sometimes, often, usually, and never help you sound more fluent. For example, I usually eat breakfast at 7. I sometimes drink coffee in the afternoon.
Yes, and don't forget about connecting sentences naturally. Instead of listing every action like a robot, you can use and, but, or so. For example, I wake up at 7, brush my teeth, and then I have breakfast. After that, I go to work, but I sometimes stop at a cafe on the way.
That's a very natural way to speak, Emma. And now, let's give our listeners a small practice. Emma, can you guide them?
Of course. Imagine it's your weekday. I want you to think about 3 things you do in the morning, 2 things during the day, and 2 things in the evening. Try to describe them using words like first, then, after that, finally, and adverbs like usually or sometimes.
Pause the podcast for a few seconds and try it out. Don't worry if it's not perfect. Just focus on speaking naturally and in order.
How is that? Remember, the more you practice, the more fluent you become. And even if you make mistakes, it's totally fine. That's how learning happens.
Now that we've practiced your weekday morning, let's move on to the evening. Evening routines are just as important when talking about your daily life.
Yes, Jack. In the evening, you can talk about activities like relaxing, eating dinner, or spending time with family. For example, I usually eat dinner around 7 o'clock. After dinner, I watch TV or read a book.
And don't forget verbs that show habits like go to bed, take a shower, or do homework. For instance, I take a shower before I go to bed, and then I usually listen to music for a few minutes.
You can also describe feelings or preferences to make it more personal, like, I enjoy reading because it helps me relax, or sometimes I feel tired after work, so I just rest on the sofa.
Exactly. Using feelings and preferences adds personality to your routine. Now, let's talk about weekends. Many learners get confused when comparing weekday routines with weekends.
Right. On weekends, people often do different activities. You can use expressions like on Saturdays, every Sunday, or once a week. For example, on Saturdays, I like to go to the park. I sometimes meet friends for lunch on Sundays.
It's also a chance to introduce the present continuous for temporary routines. For instance, this weekend I am visiting my grandparents. Notice how we use present continuous because it's a specific plan, not a general habit.
Great distinction, Jack. And another tip is to use time phrases like in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. They help your listener understand when activities happen. For example, in the afternoon, I usually play football with my friends. In the evening, I cook dinner.
You can also use words like sometimes, often, and rarely to make your routine sound more natural. For instance, I rarely watch TV on weekdays, but I often watch movies on weekends.
And don't forget about combining sentences for smooth flow. Instead of saying, I wake up at 7, I eat breakfast, I go to work, you can say, I wake up at 7, eat breakfast, and then go to work. This makes your speech much more fluent.
Absolutely. Another fun way to describe routines is to compare them. For instance, I usually go to bed early, but my sister stays up late. This is useful when talking with friends or in casual conversations.
Yes, Jack. And for those who want to sound more advanced, you can use expressions like before, after, while, and as soon as. For example, I drink coffee as soon as I wake up, or I listen to music while cooking dinner.
These words really help you connect your activities in a more natural way. Another important point is using reflexive verbs correctly, like wash myself, get dressed, or prepare myself. For instance, I get dressed after taking a shower.
Exactly. And one small tip, when talking about your routine, it's okay to add extra details to make your story interesting. For example, I usually go to the gym in the morning. It's my favorite time of the day because I feel energized.
And that's the secret, Emma. Talking about your routine isn't just listing activities, it's sharing a story about your day. That makes your English sound more natural and engaging.
Let's do a little practice. Think about your evening routine. Try to describe it using at least 5 activities, including adverbs like usually or sometimes, and connecting words like then or after that.
Pause for a few seconds and try it out. Speak slowly and imagine you're telling a friend about your day. How did it go? Remember, even small steps like these improve your fluency over time. Now, Emma, a lot of learners struggle when they want to make their daily routine sound more interesting. Instead of just listing activities, you can add small details about how you do them or why.
Exactly. For example, instead of saying I eat breakfast, you could say I eat breakfast while reading the news. I usually have toast and coffee, which wakes me up quickly. See how adding details makes it more engaging?
Yes, it gives your listener a little picture of your day. Another technique is to use transitions to connect your activities naturally. Words like after finishing, before going, or once I've help link sentences smoothly.
For instance, after finishing work, I go to the gym. Before going home, I sometimes stop at the supermarket. These phrases make your English sound fluent and polished.
Also, when talking about routines, you can describe the duration of activities. Words like for, about, and until are very helpful. For example, I study English for 2 hours in the morning, or I watch TV until 10 o'clock.
And don't forget about frequency expressions. Instead of just sometimes or often, you can use twice a week, every other day, or once in a while. For example, I go jogging twice a week, or I rarely eat fast food, maybe once in a while.
Yes, frequency words help your listener understand how often things happen. Another tip is to include small habits in your routine. Even tiny activities like drinking water, checking your phone, or feeding a pet make your description more lively.
Absolutely. For example, first I wake up, drink a glass of water, and then check my messages. These small details show natural speaking patterns.
Let's also talk about routines at work or school. You can describe daily responsibilities clearly. For example, at work, I answer emails, attend meetings, and prepare reports. Adding verbs like attend, prepare, organize, and check makes it professional.
For students, you can describe classes and study habits. I have math class in the morning. After that, I review my notes and do homework for an hour.
Using exact times and activities gives structure to your explanation. Another idea is to describe weekend routines differently from weekdays. Weekends often include hobbies, socializing, or relaxation. You might say, on Saturdays, I like to sleep a bit longer. I sometimes go hiking or meet friends for lunch.
Yes, contrasting weekdays and weekends is very natural. You could even use phrases like unlike weekdays or in contrast to my weekdays. For example, unlike weekdays, I usually cook a big breakfast on Sundays.
Now, for more advanced learners, using conditional sentences can make your routine descriptions dynamic. For example, if I have time in the morning, I go for a short walk before work.
Or, I would read a book in the evening if I don't have homework or other tasks.
These structures allow you to sound more flexible and fluent. A small tip for practice is to record yourself describing your routine. Then listen back and see if your sentences flow naturally. It helps identify places where you can add connecting words or adverbs.
And remember, it's okay to mix simple present and present continuous when talking about routines. Use simple present for habits and present continuous for temporary or current activities. For example, I usually drink tea in the morning, but this week I am trying coffee instead.
Now, let's pause for a quick practice. Think about your work or school routine. Try to describe at least 6 activities using time expressions, adverbs of frequency, and at least one conditional sentence.
How did that feel? Adding these details takes your English from simple to natural and engaging. Even small changes can make a big difference in conversations.
Moving on, Emma, another way to make your daily routine conversation more interesting is by talking about your night routine. Evening activities often show how you relax and prepare for the next day.
Yes, for example, after dinner, I usually wash the dishes and then watch a short TV show. Before going to bed, I read a few pages of a book to relax my mind. See how small actions make your routine relatable?
And you can describe preparation for the next day. It's a natural way to expand your routine. For instance, I prepare my clothes and bag for the next day before I go to sleep. This shows organization and makes your routine feel realistic.
Another tip is to use sequential connectors to tell a story. Words like first, after that, next, then, and finally are essential. Example, first, I finish my homework. After that, I make a cup of tea. Next, I relax by listening to music. Finally, I go to bed.
For variety, you can also use phrases indicating habits, such as I tend to, I prefer to, or I enjoy. For example, I tend to read in the evening because it helps me sleep better. Or, I prefer to finish all my work before dinner.
Absolutely. Talking about preferences makes your routine sound more natural and personal. You can even describe small emotional reactions like, I feel happy when I exercise in the morning, or I sometimes feel sleepy after lunch.
And for learners who want to sound even more fluent, using expressions of sequence and contrast can add depth. Phrases like even though, although, while, or in contrast help make your daily routine explanations more advanced.
For example, although I wake up early on weekdays, I usually sleep late on weekends. Or, while I enjoy working in the morning, I find afternoons more productive for studying.
Another advanced tip is telling a story about your whole day. You can start from morning, go through the day, and end with evening. This is great practice for storytelling in English.
Exactly. You could say, I wake up at 6:30, brush my teeth, and take a quick shower. Then I have breakfast and read the news. I go to work at 8, attend meetings, and have lunch at 1. In the afternoon, I focus on reports and finish work at 5. In the evening, I relax by watching TV and reading a book before going to bed at 10.
Notice how Emma included time expressions, adverbs of frequency, and connecting words. That's the perfect way to make your daily routine sound complete.
And don't forget, listeners, that sharing routines is also a great way to practice pronunciation and rhythm. Try to speak slowly and clearly, especially when describing multiple activities in a row.
Yes, practicing your intonation while talking about your day helps you sound more natural. For example, I usually wake up early, but on weekends I sleep in a little. The rise and fall of your voice makes English feel more fluent.
You can also include unexpected or fun details to make your story lively. Like, sometimes I forget my lunch at home and I have to buy something at the cafe. Or, occasionally, I go for a short walk in the park if the weather is nice.
Now, a useful tip is to practice with friends or language partners. Describe your routine and ask them questions about theirs. For instance, what time do you usually wake up? Or, do you prefer coffee or tea in the morning?
Yes, Jack. Asking and answering questions about routines is one of the best ways to improve conversational English. You learn new vocabulary and get used to listening to others' experiences.
Let's do a small practice now. Take a minute and describe your night routine. Include at least 5 activities, 1 emotional phrase, and a connecting word like then or after that.
Excellent! Even small daily practice like this builds confidence over time. The more you describe your routines, the easier it becomes to speak naturally in English.
Emma, a lot of learners make small mistakes when talking about their routines. One common error is using the wrong tense.
Exactly. For example, saying, I am waking up at 7 every day is incorrect. Since routines are habits, you should use the simple present tense. I wake up at 7 every day.
Another mistake is forgetting to use time expressions. Without them, your sentences may sound incomplete or confusing. For instance, I eat breakfast is fine, but I eat breakfast at 7 every morning gives much more clarity.
Yes, small words like at, on, in, and around are important. You could say, I go jogging in the morning, or I visit my parents on Sundays. Prepositions make your routine descriptions precise.
And one more tip is avoiding long lists without connecting words. Saying, I wake up, brush teeth, eat breakfast, go work, check emails, attend meetings, sounds robotic.
Right. You can make it fluent by connecting ideas. I wake up, brush my teeth, and eat breakfast before going to work. Then I check emails and attend meetings. See how it flows naturally?
Now, Emma, let's talk about expressing preferences and feelings in your daily routine. This adds personality to your speech.
Absolutely. For example, I enjoy going for a walk in the afternoon because it helps me relax. Or, I don't like waking up very early, but I feel productive when I do. Adding emotions makes your routine relatable.
And you can also describe changes in routine. For instance, usually I take the bus to work, but today I am walking because the weather is nice. This shows flexibility and makes your speech more engaging.
Another advanced tip is to combine routines with frequency words and conditional phrases. For example, if I have time in the morning, I usually go jogging. I rarely skip it.
Describing routines is also a great opportunity to practice sequencing and transitions. Words like before, after, as soon as, while, and once make your storytelling clear.
For example, I check my emails as soon as I arrive at work. While eating lunch, I read a book. After finishing work, I sometimes go to the gym.
These words guide the listener through your day. Now, another tip is to talk about special or unusual days. Not every day is the same, and mentioning exceptions makes your speech more natural.
Exactly. For example, on weekends, I often sleep in later than usual. Last Saturday, I went hiking in the mountains, which is different from my normal routine. Adding variety keeps conversations interesting.
You can also practice asking questions about others' routines to make dialogue smoother. For instance, what time do you usually wake up? Or do you prefer working in the morning or evening?
Yes, asking questions and listening carefully helps you learn new phrases and connect your routine with others' experiences. You can even compare routines. I usually drink coffee in the morning, but my friend prefers tea.
Finally, one effective practice is to record your day for a few minutes every evening. Describe your morning, afternoon, and evening, including at least one feeling or preference. Then listen back and notice any areas to improve.
This method helps with pronunciation, fluency, and connecting ideas smoothly. Over time, describing your daily routine will feel completely natural.
For a short practice, take a moment now and try to describe your whole day in 6 to 8 sentences. Include time expressions, adverbs of frequency, and at least one emotional or preference phrase.
Well done! Even small daily practices like this make a huge difference in your confidence and fluency. The key is consistency and paying attention to connecting words, tense, and details.
Emma, before we finish, it's helpful to summarize everything we've covered today. Talking about your daily routine isn't just about listing activities. It's about creating a story that's clear, engaging, and personal.
Exactly. We practice describing morning, afternoon, evening, and even weekend routines. We use time expressions, adverbs of frequency, connecting words, and emotional or preference phrases to make the routine sound natural.
We also highlighted common mistakes to avoid, like using the wrong tense, leaving out prepositions, or listing actions without connections. Paying attention to these small details makes a huge difference in fluency.
Another important point is varying your sentences. Mix simple present and present continuous where needed, add small details, and include feelings or preferences. This makes your daily routine sound like a story rather than just a list.
For more advanced learners, using conditional sentences, contrast words, and frequency expressions adds depth and richness. For example, if I finish work early, I sometimes go for a long walk, which I don't usually have time for.
Yes, and don't forget about practicing with others. Asking and answering questions about routines improves conversation skills and helps you learn new vocabulary naturally.
A simple but effective practice is to record yourself describing your day and listen back. Notice your flow, connecting words, and areas to improve. Small improvements every day make a big impact over time.
Also, consider comparing weekdays and weekends. This allows you to include more variety in your sentences and makes your English richer. For example, during weekdays, I wake up early and work all day. On weekends, I relax, meet friends, and enjoy hobbies.
And remember, adding little unexpected details or emotions keeps your routine lively. Something as simple as, sometimes I forget my umbrella and get wet walking to work, makes your speech natural and relatable.
Before we wrap up, here's a quick exercise for our listeners. Take a few minutes tonight and describe your entire day. Include at least 8 activities, use connecting words like then, after that, or while, and add one emotional or preference phrase.
Try to speak clearly and naturally as if you're telling a friend about your day. Don't worry about mistakes. The goal is fluency and confidence.
And remember, describing your daily routine is not only practical for conversation, but it also improves your overall English skills, vocabulary, sentence structure, and storytelling.
That's right. The more detailed and personal your description, the better your English will sound. You'll also be more comfortable talking about your life in any situation, whether in class, with friends, or even in a professional setting.
So keep practicing. Start small, gradually add more details, and try recording or sharing your routine with someone else.
Thank you so much for listening. Keep working on your English every day, and soon describing your routine will feel completely natural.
And remember, the more you practice, the easier it becomes to speak confidently.
That's all for today. Keep practicing, keep improving, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Goodbye, everyone, and happy learning.